Honorable Priest. Fire, what's going on?
Everything is blessed, man. Give thanks
All
for
right,
life.
welcome back to I Never Knew TV. We finally meeting in Ghana, out of all places. So we give thanks for that same way, right? I want to get right into the reasoning. And the first question I have is, can you speak about the difference of what many refer to as wild crafted sea moss versus pool grown sea moss?
Well, I mean, give thanks for life and a mighty life giver. Definitely, the whole, I would say, topic on how CMOS is actually cultivated is one topic that I feel it is of critically overstanding because coming out of St. Lucia and growing up in an environment where CMOS was just like a staple, something that they grew in our community, or people used to harvest in our community. Until what happens, sea moss does not just grow in the water just by itself. There are particular ecosystems that sea moss actually like. So sea moss would be growing in a plethora of other types of vegetation within the ocean on the coral reefs. And then it would be within also an ecosystem where there are living fish and all type of organisms within that very particular space. So it is not something that is unique or identical to its own self, and it's just this type of thing that's just out there. It's part of a very intricate ecosystem. So in the initial exploitation of sea moss, what happened, you had the destruction of the coral reefs, just because people were just diving and pulling out the sea moss and breaking up the coral reefs. And that's the places where many organisms actually, form their homes. So what happened in St. Lucia, in an effort to actually safeguard the life of the coral reef, which is a critical aspect of our, biodiversity, people began growing the sea moss and developing different types of ways of growing the sea moss. So people who tell you, well, sea moss that is grown on the coral reef is better or of higher nutritional, quantity. People don't even say, well, oh, sea moss have no iron. But our sea moss, I mean, you would, if you take it to a laboratory, you'd see that even if the iron concentration is not the highest, but that mineral is still present, right? So they say, well, because the sea moss is grown on the coral, it's better than the sea moss that is grown on the water or on the ropes or the strings within the water. So it is basically, you have to put sticks into the inside. I started doing it in St. Lucia, but it's grown in the ocean. It's not grown in a pond or a pool. So you put sticks and you put weights on it and you put it into the sand so to hold it down, and then you tie ropes and you break off the branches from the sea moss that grows on the coral, and after years, or just allowing it to grow on the rope to absorb the nutrients from the water. So one of the critical questions you ask yourself: how does the sea moss extract the nutrient from the coral? It has to dissolve it. It has to come into a soluble form. So even if the sea moss is attached to the coral, it is still taking in the liquids out of the coral. So whatever minerals that's in the corals would be absorbed via an aqueous form. All right? Same way, because the leaves are exposed, it's an algae, because it's exposed into the medium of the water, there will also be a direct interaction. So growing sea moss on rope is it's almost like what you call hydroponic farming, meaning that the nutrients, after they have dissolved from the same coral and whatever is in that space, is actually utilized by the sea moss to grow.
Quick question: do you have to put the sea moss by a certain type of coral that has certain nutrients, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, it's not, I mean, it just grows on the coral, right? So it's just like the earth, the medium where it grows, and sometimes it breaks off and it just grows in the water, you know. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that it's exposed basically to the same nutrients, right? So when you critically examine it and you do some tests in a laboratory and see exactly what's the content of the sea moss, the differences, sometimes are even non-existent, and the core principle of actually growing it in the water is as a conscious level of preserving even the sea moss because of overfarming.
I wanted to get into that. I had a question because my concern is that since this sea moss has become so commercial, will it become extinct, or like people using it too much and not replenishing it and giving it time to grow? That's like my biggest concern because it's a fad. I just see people just scooping sea moss and disregarding the rest of their life, and they're just using too much. So, what's your thoughts about that one?
Well, I mean, that's exactly what happened in St. Lucia. To prevent the destruction of the species, people began cultivating it. So it is just like cultivating lettuce. So if you just take lettuce from the wild and everywhere you see lettuce, you just pull out lettuce and you eat after a while, you just see no lettuce. Eventually you'd have to collect the seeds from the lettuce, or breed different types of lettuce, and to create a variety of lettuce that grows best in your environment. And then people will say, well, if it's not grown by God and, by nature, it's not good, but man is nature. Man is an intricate part of nature. So then it comes to the perception of knowing exactly that man is God, because you are God, right? So many of the things that we actually consume, even quinoa and spelt flour that one might call alkaline, it came from a process of thousands of years of breeding, to the extent to have that particular type of quinoa that grows and can give you the biggest grain, and so these things there come from the work of the ancestors because they were scientists, right? So it's not like in the beginning quinoa was created and that it was just like that, or lettuce or kale, or many of the things that someone might tell you is good. It came out of a very intricate process, a very deliberate process by nature, which is still man, because you are an intricate part of nature. And yet you are even a God within that realms. You say, oh, if not created by God, then it's not good. But man is God. Good man is God in flesh. So that capacity of us to see the consciousness of the benefits of sea moss, and yet not being like a mosquito, because there's what you call a mosquito principle. It's a parasitic principle where people exploit nature, exploit the source. So the mosquito come and bite you and suck your blood, right? And still give you disease and sometimes kill you with malaria or dengue or some type of disease, right? So there are people who treat the environment in that same manner. They come and they suck, and then they give the environment disease, right, without contributing something. So it is critical that when you understand that you are a part of the greater creation, that even when you have that relationship with that sea moss, is with that high level of understanding, to say, well, you are extracting, but what can I do to safeguard that beautiful sea moss plant? So then you think about, okay, let's just tie some ropes and grow it here, so at least we could cultivate it and replicate it, right? So it is not something that happens in a means to say, well, you are doing it only for the exploitation of finances. So for me, it is not just the sea moss. The sea moss is just one example in a principle of how people have dealt with things throughout creation.
How does one learn self-love in an environment and society that has anti-self-love?
How does one learn self-love in an environment that is anti-self-love? The beautifulest of things grow in environments that you'd never expect them to grow in. In the worst cesspools of sewage and all manner of things, you see beautiful plants actually emerge out of that, right? Because within the because life must operate within a level of polarity. And there is also what you call extreme polarities. So in the brightest of spaces, you still have the darkest of places. And for things to actually exist, you must have these two polarities. So when you say that you are in a space that is anti-self-love, that's an extreme polarity that also provides you that opportunity to create the space that actually...
I like how you said opportunity.
Opportunity to create the space that actually promotes the whole principles of self-love. So in our consciousness, it is not that you are that you see or you identify the problem, but remember the problem also is an opportunity to have a solution. You know, and as the creator within your own self, the God man within your own self, that problem offers you that opportunity. So if you asking that question, you know, it stimulates the mind immediately to say, well, wow, what can I do to actually create that whole level of self-love? Okay, then I'm going to begin to love myself first, right? So I'm going to be that living example, a testament that when people see me within that whole, that if you have a whole white wall and you put one black dot on it, what's going to happen? It's going to stand out, right? So you begin to be the one that stands out, right? And even without actively pursuing to create that type of energy, just for your own example and your effort, your vibration, what you exude, you know, from what the sweat that comes out of your pores, the words that comes out of your mouth, it becomes a living example that people could actually emulate. You know, so that's a great opportunity to be in any area of intense pressure. You know, so carbon is actually turned into diamond, you know, for a high pressure system and heat, and it's burnt when it comes out a precious, you know, crystal. You understand? So it's just a perception of how you look at these places.
And for those listening, right, there's a part 2 to the question. What does self-love look like in a holistic way? Because in the West, right, when we speak about self-love, they usually talking about purchasing things. Regards to the term treat yourself, don't cheat yourself. So how does self-love look in a holistic way?
It comes from the principles of abundance, right? And it's the basic and the founding principle of just having that high sense of commitment. I was reasoning with a brethren once, and he said, Priest, that is Prophet Jama. We call him Chronix. He said, Priest, well, people worship the sun because of how committed the sun is. Wherever you go, the sun just keeps on doing its business. Consistently. Right? So the sun then became an example of a high level, the highest level of commitment. You could map on its trajectory accurately for the next million years.
And don't deviate.
Don't deviate. You understand? So within nature, we find critical examples of that high demonstration of just a high level of commitment. So the sun, the S-U-N and the S-O-N, right? So within yourself now, you understand, well, for me to be able to fulfill my own responsibility, because all of us have our unique responsibility that is different to anyone else. So you have a personal relationship with the creator and creation. So you have your own questions to answer for. So though you are living within this space where you have other energies and people interacting with you, you are that center of your universe, the sun of your solar system. So your child revolves around you. Your wife revolves around you. Your mother, your auntie, your friend, your boss. You know, the person on the roadside, everything revolves around you. So if you pull out the person on the roadside, you're still there. So your reality is still existing. You could pull out your auntie, your daddy, anyone that revolves around you can be taken out, but your world still exists. You are the center, the core of that, the sun, right? If you pull out the sun, then your world ceases to exist. But remember, you are just one goodie one planet that revolves around your son's life. So your son's life, right? You just want. So when you come out of your son's life, his life still exists. When you come out of your uncle's life, his life still exists. Everybody else's life exists except your life, because you have been taken out of your own microcosm. Right? So then you understand the importance of maintaining that sun of that solar system, which is your life. Okay? So when you come from that space now, it makes you think about what you think of, what you speak of, what you eat, what you drink, or anytime you are going to commit any of these actions, what you're going to have to do firstly is ask yourself the question, how does it impact me? Okay? So even when you ask, I say, but what am I? Who am I? What's in my mouth? Why do I have teeth? Why do I have tongue? When I breathe, where the air goes through? When I eat, where the food goes to? So then you develop that kind of interest in knowing and identifying and studying self. Naturally, there is a natural process in nature and also in many universities, a process of just having, so for medical school and these places that you go to medical school, the first year is like, my first day in medical school, and that was in Cuba, right? So I just went into anatomy. When I step into the room, it's an arm, a leg, a head. You understand? I'm talking about human parts of you, literal parts of human beings on tables, right? So this there, one person might come in and vomit and leave and never come back. That was very deliberate. Because you're going to purge out people through the process. Yeah. So the system is created to purge out people through the process. So the challenges that you have is an opportunity for you to break a barrier and become a better version of yourself. Right? So when you are able to identify and understand yourself, then you are able to take care of yourself. So now it's not about what a man eats or a man drinks or if the man eats. That some people don't speak to people because of what people eat. So if you're not alkaline or you're not this or you're not vegan or you're not this or that, people judge you based upon these things. When the critical thing is that if you still, in the time that we are living right now, still have to be concerned about what you're eating and drinking, you lost. You're supposed to be, we are now in the time of what you're thinking. So what is your value system? So what you think would naturally just command what you eat, right? And you could be eating the most alkaline of things and the most vegan of things and the most plant-based of things, not from the context of having a greater appreciate loving yourself more, or even appreciate loving the plant that you actually consume. So when you're going to eat that salad, you're coming from that perception of knowing, well, I'm eating this salad, and the plant have given of itself that I could chew it and it could become one with my physical structure. So in that high sense of gratitude, right? And someone else might be eating a fowl that they grew the fowl, and they fed that fowl with a clean and a pure consciousness, because they have a relationship with their food. And even before they consume that animal, they have the rituals that they go through in understanding and then having that high sense of appreciation for what they are eating. Is in a much better state than a man who eats all the supposedly good foods and don't eat meat and don't do this and don't do that, and yet still his mind is just is
meditation
off, like the evilest thoughts that he could think about, right? And just eating it because and this and that, and his thoughts is not even concerned with goodness. So you don't judge people based upon what they eat and drink. Everyone, it's a journey, right? So probably you might be thinking you're eating healthy, but you don't even plant your food. You don't know where it comes from. You don't even understand how it was packaged or what's where the building it is packaged. You're not even thinking about anything about it. So the man that reaches to that level of self-love, where he feels that necessity to plant something in the soil and eat it, it's a different level. So then what if he then begins to judge the man who doesn't plant his food and say, "Boy, you don't plant your food, man. Fireball, now, So at the end of the day, when it comes to night, it's critical that we understand that we are in this balance, and it's a journey. And your thoughts is what you're supposed to be focusing on primarily in the space that we are living in. And let that be that nourishing factor, beautiful, wonderful thoughts, and that would help to actually ensure that your physical actions are one that's more conducive for your own survival.
Is living a principled life the key to one becoming their higher self?
Well, I mean, even the word principle, mentorship is critical. And now you have a generation of the I know it alls. So you'd be speaking with someone and you say, Honorable, yesterday, I was doing this and I just figured out, yeah, man, I know, man. Yeah, man, I can do that too, man. I know. So you now, as someone who has something to impact upon that specific generation, remember the person that says, yeah, man, I know. Oh, yeah, man, me too, man. I was doing that too, man. So the person that is the source of that information, speaking to someone with that type of energy, cannot transmit or download his information into that person because they know already, right? Rather than a person that say, oh, that's true, give thanks, my Lord. So what happened after that? Oh, and then, yes, man, I was doing something similar, and what you said, I gave me a good, and then the conversation could build into something higher. Yeah, man, I know, man. Yeah, man, me too. Yeah, man, I know. Yeah, man, I did the same thing, Yeah, man. Yeah, I have one too, just like I did that. Yeah, man, yeah. So that generation of people is one that's deprived of mentorship and the guiding of elders, which would have enabled them to establish core principles. So you have a generation of young people who just do what they perceive is right. I'm grounding myself. I'm clearing my space by just burning some sage. But if you really go to the room, the bed is not done, the floor is not mopped, dishes in the sink, and even how they live, they don't bathe and take care of themselves, right? So, but they're clearing the space and then they have crystals and, yet still the grounding and the core basic principles of just taking care of the lower vibrational frequency of the physical self has not been properly established, right? So the first place you clear is that space, your physical structure, how to bathe properly, how to rag yourself. So if you're a man and you bathe, you have to rag underneath your testicles, and you have to rag it and pull it down to take off all the dirt, or else you get fungus, right? But no one teaches us that because that space is not deliberately created that the man or the woman could actually, in the terms that we are right now, download that information or teach that information. So the whole aspect of principles would be lost within the whole generational gaps. And a key principle I learned through my mentorship was that the man who saved me, his name is Bolo, Charles, who met me when I was probably about 9, 10, just entered into secondary school. Everyone is saying, oh, case troublesome, man. okay, it's troublesome, okay, it's troublesome. You know, it's only like this year, I was speaking to his daughter, and his daughter said, you know, my father, you know, he's an ancestor now, bless his soul. My father always said, you know, people always used to say K troublesome, but you know, K is a genius. You know, he's just, you know, too big for St. Lucia. You know, he just needs space for him to think. And from coming from a space where I never knew that I was intelligent, meeting this man at the age of 9, 10, I got the gold medal in academics every single term, just through his direction, because he took a personal interest in my life. He used to come to my mother's home. I used to go by his home. You know, bring me into dancing or how to speak, or you understand, go and learn calypso or all these different aspects. So that level of intervention is a necessary, not ingredient, but a necessary component in our own upliftment. So then you realize that the person that you are, because you are given that assistant to identify yourself. So like yourself, you're doing extraordinary works. So how can someone then like you allow the fact that someone does not see the world the exact same way that you see it? They don't even have your level of intelligence. They have never used a high-tech camera like yours before, right? And you about to do a shoot, and then this person is telling you, well, that's one thing, you know, you put in the camera wrong, man, and you now, you get upset. You're having an argument with the man that have invested no time and energy into filming and documentary making. And you, as a man who spent 20 years in doing it, having an argument with someone who's never done it. Now that is just so you are an example of a master of your craft, and that person is an example of a distraction. But there's the underlying principle is that if you are a genius or you are an extraordinary person in a field, don't expect anyone to understand what you are doing, what you are saying. So the core principle is that people will not understand what you want to do, how you want to do it. Why? Because you are above. Your intelligence, your level is above. So then you understand that each of these individuals, from the police to the doctor to the lawyer, they are just examples within a principle. So the one that curses you, he's not cursing you, you know. He's cursing the principle that you actually represent. And he would curse anybody that looks like you. So it has nothing to do with you. It's nothing personal. So how that person deals with you should not have that level of control or authority over you to determine what your life experience is. Right? So even the person that tell you, oh man, you're strong and you're handsome, you're beautiful, you're just a representative of that principle of cleanliness and being successful. So you'd get that reaction. But if then you believe, well, oh yeah, man, I'm the handsomest and I'm the successfulest and I'm this and that, and then you lose that whole scope of self. So being principled, being that key, as you say, in component of success, or what to make you reach your higher self, is even understanding what the significant, basic, fundamental principle that you are just an example of an underlying principle. So it's nothing personal, brother. Yeah.
And Fire, I want to go back to something you said earlier, right? In regards to the mentorship in the generation. When I was younger, right, I had many people I looked up to. But in retrospect, older, these people were never people with wealth. These people weren't even the brightest people, but they did have a characteristic and they did have an impact or something to impart, right? What I noticed with this generation now, unless you're not just successful, you have to be like extremely unordinarily financially successful for them to have any respect for you. And I think, I'm not sure when that occurred, but it's extremely dangerous right now because, as you stated, they're not open to taking in information from people who have information to provide. And the people with the monetary success they're looking for don't necessarily have information to provide.
So your question is?
Have you witnessed that?
Yes, I have witnessed that. I mean, that is, and that again is another opportunity, you know, to break a barrier that in our lifetime has not been broken, you know, to be righteously wealthy, you know. So economic sustainability, as His Imperial Majesty says, you know, physical and spiritual growth comes hand in hand. Yet still, the majority of I and I as a people that has, or that have, pardon my English, you know, that have the capacity or the love, that sincere, that true aspiration to do good, you know, do not have that level of economic sustainability, that wealth. So there is an opportunity to be the righteous man that has that level of abundance. Then now, understanding if well, money, you know, truly represents success, you know, then if you are a righteous person and you take on that challenge of saying, well, I'm going to make righteous money, you know, so I will not get rich off somebody's suffering. So yes, I do herbal products. You know, a part of my existence is herbal healing, but I'm not gonna get rich off people suffering, right? So I could just take on a product and say, well, this is excellent. You know, you could use it and just make whatever I speak about that. But this is, you know, people do that all the time, you know. So who is getting wealthy? I'm talking about 747s, you know, and you could afford to buy a yacht. You could have the GDP of a country, right? And you make all that money through uplifting mankind, making the world a wonderful place, making people live longer, making people stronger, you know, having people with cleaner thoughts, positive meditation, right? Getting the earth nice and rebuilding rivers and you know, why, you know, last year this river was dry, you know, and you know, this brother came here for tea, man, you know, they developed some kind of system and the river, look, there are fishes back in the you know, in the river. So that's the opportunity whereby economics, which is just a value system, you know, so currency is just a means to make things flow. So in a point in time, like Marcus Garvey's time, there were many people, many, right? In the time that we are living now, if you just change one vowel and you take out the A and you put an O and then you add a vowel E, you know, between the N and the Y, then you get money. So if you have the money, then you could create systems that could influence people into righteousness, into upfulness, right? So the part that I never knew TV plays, our people recognizing the significance of the good knowledge. So if a man say, well, I like the work you're doing, you know, brother, you know, if my field is in healing, and I'm supposed to bless you. So I'm not only supposed to say, yeah, man, I like what you're doing, you know, man, good work, you know, man, and then turn my back and go. I supposed to tell him, man, look, you know, doing this, you know, I'm sure you clean up yourself and take care of yourself, and, you know, and you could take that, man, and use that, you know. So I add that value. You understand? So that is the levels that we have to be aspiring to do things. Then your influence, because what I give you represents money. So I'm adding value. So if you were valuing 98, now you're 99, you know, so that increases your value, not just by the speaking, but by the physical action that comes with it. So it grows us economically. So you could influence right? And then since your work is righteous and good altogether, then you could have a generation of youths that you actually influence to grow, So the tree that you plant today might take 5 years to actually bear the fruit. But if you don't plant it today, then tomorrow, it will still be the same 5 years. And if you don't plant it, but the day that you plant it and you take care of it, it will never be 5 years again. It'll be 4 years and 4 years and then 3 years and 2 years and then the day you sit in and then you drink it from that fruit. And even if you don't get to eat and drink from that fruit, right? Your children or somebody or anyone else gets that opportunity. Because the fruits that you eat today, it was a man who planted it, probably 20 or 30 or 50 years ago, right? So what are you planting now that someone, the same way that you've benefited, from the work of a man? So you don't keep the mosquito principle. You don't just extract. Then you plant the fruit, something that goes long term beyond your time even, so you're thinking about what you call generational wealth. So money is critical. Economic sustainability is critical, and we have to create that high value system among ourselves, that the people who are on the righteous trajectory, could actually create artificial intelligence, nanotechnology. So if we could afford to have this brilliant, young biochemist, that could actually probably attach a particular terpene from Anamu, Petiveria alicae, what they call gully root, that then could deliver it specifically to cancer cell within the prostate. Wouldn't that be excellent? Right? Of course. So as Marcus Garvey says, religion and science. So at the end of the day, we must have the capacity to invest in the things that we claim is good. Or else we'll be talking for the next 1,000 years and then nothing will change. So in a point in time, it was shells. Then it was like, food and barter and trade. Then you had gold and, and all these different things. Now it's just money and Bitcoin or whatever, whatever you have as a value system that could actually make the things happen that we need to happen, that they could happen.
All right. What is the history of Rastafari reaching St. Lucia?
Well, Rastafari reaching into St. Lucia is like out of Jamaica. Is man that go into university, go to Jamaica, because Jamaica had UI, and go into university and learn of Rastafari, beyond even just Bob Marley, and the reggae music. So that's how it actually got in, and then even the elders themselves of Rastafari, the elder Bingiman and them from Jamaica, most of these men and them visited St. Lucia. So they are delegations, so that is how it actually got into St. Lucia from that realms, because we know it came out of Jamaica in that sense, yet still there have been people who have worshipped the person of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, as divine, as God, even before the defined Rastafari within the Caribbean.
Serious thing?
But even the Orthodox Church, he was seen as divine, as God and man, and people bow down to the emperor, and, you understand? So Rastafari sees the emperor as God. See, Rastafari, you call it after his name, so that's what I would say on that.
And all right, so why did you take up the tribe?
Well, growing up, wanting to be a Rastafari is something I always knew that I wanted to do. So it was not something whereby I saw some, like two things I always knew I had to be was, in that time, a doctor, because that's how my mind was framed. A doctor, and the second thing was was Rastafari. Then at that age, I would say, well, when I get everything I have, I'll go my locks, man. You see, when I have my house, I have my land, I have my this, I have my that, I'll go my locks. So when I left secondary school, like college, I was teaching. Very young, I was about 18, 19, about 18 or so.
I used to teach.
Yeah, I used to teach.
That makes
man.
sense then with your presentation, then you know how to structure your article.
I used to teach. I taught the sciences and agriculture. And in that space, I taught for about 2 years, in fact. And then I did another job, in exporting and logistics and, these type of things. I left teaching specifically because of, just the atmosphere, and I just went and explored other things. And just, from that age, I was about, 21, and I had this, before that, about 20, and I had this experience where alcohol was something I could have never drunk. So I came from work on a Friday, and there was this daughter, the mother of my first, because I had 2 children before my empress. My first child at 21. We didn't even have children yet. I just met her, so I drank a Guinness, not even the whole Guinness. I cannot drink alcohol, so I taste the Guinness. If somebody give you a Guinness and you taste the Guinness, yeah, and that was it, because I was sick, and so at that time I already had my first vehicle, because I was teaching from probably young, so I understand what a loan is. I just take a loan, buy a vehicle, because you understand. So I was so sick that she had to drive me. Yeah. So we're going down this steep incline, and like I'm laid right back into the seat. Yeah. And I just about 3 days ago, I just went by a Rastaman brethren that is the kingman of her sister, and he gave me a book, and I had begun reading that book.
What book was that?
It was the autobiography of His Imperial Majesty, right? And I just felt like the vehicle just starting to move very fast, so in the spirit I just woke up and pulled up the handbrakes. Then the vehicle just spin and just flipped. But a couple of times I landed back on the wheels, and I just saw myself in the vehicle just spinning. Like everything was like in slow motion. So many things in my life happen like that, in that slow motion, like you're going through something and everything just slow down, and just seeing yourself spinning, and and I just came out of the vehicle, and I didn't get a scratch, and she got 1 scratch. In the mental space I was, I wasn't in that space whereby my first consideration was life. I was more thinking about my car. I was like, I might just buy my car. I have my car. Just mash up, not even seeing what just happened.
You just focus about the car.
Yeah. All right. So that's just honestly. All right. So it is after when I go back into that same book and I'm reading the book, and I went back into myself and hold a meditation and look at the whole experience and saw it for what it was. And from that point, I never cut my hair again. That was it, right? Just because of that point of being able to recognize that.
Your value system at the time.
The value system. So I couldn't even love this woman enough to say, oh, Honorable, how you doing? You all right? Everything is blessed. So I say, well, how can I now be entrapped in a life where my value system is over material than people. You know? So it comes to that same critical point of self-awareness. And even after I was Rastafari, for years, I'm in a business, and then some Caucasian people came in, and I'm the business owner. And I had that same experience of watching myself deal with the Caucasian people, not like my people, but better than how I would deal with someone that looks like me. Then I check, well, wow, man, I'm Rastafari, and I still have that type of mentality within my physical structure that somebody else is better than who I am and what I represent. So that was another point whereby I see, well, many of us, we are conscious, and but through epigenetics and hundreds of years of programming and genetic manipulation, right? These things that are embedded in our DNA. You know, even the lack of self-love, as you said a while ago, that capacity to be able to critically and honestly examine what your position is, even when you think that you're enlightened. That's when I decided to say, well, I'm going to make a deliberate attempt to treat everyone the same. No. At that point in time in my life is to treat black people the same as I treat anybody else. So treat my brother. You know, treat everyone that looks like me the same. Everyone that looks like me the same. And better than. Right? To the point where in that evolution, at where I am right now, that it's at the point where you understand, well, the great diversity of humanity. So, I mean, some people have never seen a Caribbean, an Arak or Tahino. You know, there are people who were killed through genocide, you know. There are that possess very unique and peculiar features that you'd never see again. They were wiped off. So your eyes, your optic nerve, have your brain have been deprived of this stimulation, just observing, you know, a particular, you know, diversity, a unique human creation, right? So the Chinese, the Indian, the Mongol, you know, the African man, the one coming from Ethiopia, from Kenya, to the one from Ghana and Nigeria, you know, you have a plethora of different characteristics of human forms that you could look upon and you could appreciate, love it as a unique part of God's creation, right? Then you see man's diversity and the differences is the strength that man actually possesses, right? And it is also critical. That's why when a Chinese marries a Chinese, he's doing himself a favor, and also he's doing the world a favor by just maintaining
that uniqueness,
the phenotype of the Chinese. So there's nothing grudgeful or hateful about that. The man that wants to maintain that the beauty of the Chinese, that the Chinese could be a specimen within creation. You know, the Mongol, the Caucasian man, you know, and the Ethiopian people, and the unique nature and the features, that they could have this value system whereby they maintain that because it is unique.
Fire, you know, when I say that makes sense now, because we live in a uniform society and they want to make everything uniform. And it seems like that's why they pushing this interracial thing. If you really look at it, that hates from a sense. Because they want a uniform society. They don't want people to have that uniqueness in any aspect of their life.
Well, but you see, at the end of the day, then the dominant gene what would happen is that the dominant gene would prevail.
That's where the thing gonna backfire. That's
Well, I mean, I don't think it's backfire. It'll just evolve.
I wanted to touch on something you mentioned earlier because I had it as a separate question because we reason brought it previously, right? This learning, because many people go through this, they may not acknowledge it, whether consciously or subconsciously. Many Africans or our African brothers and sisters treat white people better, you know? And previously you spoke about your experience, but what triggered you and how did you respond to yourself when you really, is that, man, I really treat white people. You was trotting Rastafari already.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah, man.
And give thanks you were truthful with yourself. But like, what was that process like within yourself to really acknowledge that I'm trotting Rastafari, right? But I still treat white people better than my brother and sister, you know?
Just that inbuilt, because remember, Rasta don't make you a better man, You as a better man make Rastafari better. So when you come into any organization, you can add value. You don't come like with the same mosquito principle to suck out and think you are coming to add value. So you always come into any organization at a level. So when you come in, it's supposed to grow, right? So I always have that understanding of my own intricate value system, what I'm valued, what I'm worth. Right? So when I realize how I am living, and basically me just being the man that want to be the best I can be, and just to be just, and quickly it became the mental work, because you might remember it's deprogramming, right? Because we were brought up seeing God as white. You understand? So Jesus is, that's where, I raised up in a Catholic family, but at the age of, when I just went into secondary school, I went to crusade and thing, and I baptized as an Adventist, all by myself. I was about 10 or 11 and thing. My mother was threatening to sue the church and all that type of thing. Because from that age, I was really interested in spirituality. The Sabbath had catch me, so that saved me from eating plenty of things I never eat because of just being an Adventist.
Was that the start of the eating because of the Adventist?
The what?
Was that your start of eating a certain way because of the Adventist vibe?
Yeah, well, because of that, yes. And also the fact that growing up, there are certain things I just couldn't eat. But Adventist was that major step. And this is what that allows you to just appreciate love people for who they are. Because, at the end of the day, the Adventist that's a strong and conscious and positive Adventist that lives up to all the principles of Adventism. I don't call it an ism, but of the Adventist church is a good human being. If they follow the precepts of Christ, within that righteous context. Love your neighbor as yourself, not more than yourself, but self-love as you love yourself, So you don't give a man your whole cup of water, but if your cup of water is overflowing, then he can fill his cup under yours. You wouldn't even know that he's drinking from you because you overflow with abundance. So he could drink 2, could drink 3, could drink 4, could drink because you are overflowing with abundance. So the core principles of Christianity, right, are they good? So if the Catholic really follow the doctrine of the Catholic to an extent whereby they love their brothers and they pray and then they do their thing and they fast, right? That's good for them. They would reach a certain level of spiritual enlightenment. They have to, if they just practice this principle. So is the Muslim, right? So is the Hindu, okay? So you don't judge people based upon their path because that's their path. So that's just a process towards an end result. So it's not like heaven going to be a place where you have only one type of people. And if you never did that, no.
I want to go back to the you overs in the sense that you were treating white people better in that process of or learning not to do it.
So it's mind work. So being very deliberate. Very deliberate in, so when I meet my brethren, been deliberate. So always thinking about it. Because you have to deprogram. Because you always have to think about it. It is something that you have to keep in your head. Yeah, man, I'm going to treat this man that good, I'm going to treat this man that good, Right? So that is when, a point in time when in my clinic, I also realized that I was seeing people like money. You understand that? Yeah? That you come into your space, your office, and there are 15 people sitting down waiting, and you're saying 200. 200. You understand? And then I said, hey.
That's why we need to have these real conversations about the growth. You get what I'm saying? And how you used to pre things and how you don't pre. Yeah, seriously.
Because remember, you are like the sun that rises and sets every day. You fly to this, because that time I had about 3 offices in St. Lucia. I have an office in Dominica. I see clients in Antigua and St. Martin, and traveling, and then so you see people from morning till evening. So if that's what your life is and what you're doing, then automatically that plays in your subconscious, because you're repeating this. So you're painting this picture, you're developing these folds in your brain that just automatically makes you see things like that because of the system. So you come into the office, the person is there, they go into this other door, and then you sit down and you speak and you consult, and then next, all right. So that when I realized that I see people as money, I closed down all my offices, and that's when I bought about 7 acres in the mountain. And at that time, I had some very profound conversation with my Rastafari brother, Nasio Fontaine from Dominica.
Top singer, yeah, big
man,
time singer.
Man. I went by his home and sat down and saw how he was living, completely off grid, as a reggae superstar, but yet still he chose to live, within his that high level of balance. He and his Empress Helen. After I mention Nasio, I have to mention Helen. And the way his house was built, any hurricane that come, like with wood, and just within creation, and his diversity of fruit trees, and his food outside, so just go and break that. And you're talking about a man that could be living anywhere, and could be on tour, could do anything that he wants to do. He could have been whatever that he wants to be because of the talent that he has as a singer. That's Brother Nasio Fontaine. So that struck me also, because I was traveling. I had a business in Dominica. I was doing radio and TV in Dominica. Right? So I just closed down all my offices. I bought the land in the mountain, and I remember building a small house, probably 2-level little house, and my whole family just went up into the mountain. That means that is coming out of, because we don't believe in lack. So it's not like I'm going there because I'm poor, but I was poor in spirit, and just seeing how just this mechanized way of living, just giving out, and just repeating these type of things. I say, let me create the environment that I love, that people could come to me in that environment, so I could maintain my level of integrity. So this is the birthing of Mount Kailash Rejuvenation Centre. And the core principle of the center. So from the point of seeing people as money, And then to the point of not realizing, because there's not to realize, to seeing that it's a very unjust system whereby a man dies just because he cannot afford a particular type of treatment, right? Or a man that could easily have reversed a particular disease, suffer and die just because they don't have the money, So then our principle became that Mount Kailash would be an establishment that eventually is accessible to the people that need healing, not because of money, but because they need healing, right? So you don't need money to come there. Yet you need a certain level of discipline for us to admit you into whatever system that we actually create. Because remember, it's a balance. So we said, well, why would healing have to be in a sterile place, in a hospital? So I'm in this office in Rodney Bay. Yeah. AC. Yeah, I've been a hypocrite. I don't look at me big Rasta man and think a hypocrite and sit down here. You understand? And getting distracted and and this thing, I say, but it's supposed to be in nature, hypocrite. So if you cannot look at yourself and critique yourself, right? If someone says something about me on social media, I don't respond, I love it. It's critique. It makes you check yourself, critique it, examine it, right? So I critique myself. I call myself a hypocrite, a sellout. You understand? Yeah. And I say, let me do better, man. So I go in the mountain with my family, my children, young children, that are accustomed of living a particular type of life. So you have to drive a certain type of vehicle, build the road, and you have to cut road, Spend a lot of money to cut road, build road, and afterwards you check, well, the road the man built, had 2 excavators for weeks at how much, 100 every hour, and then he built the road in a way that he have to come again next week. So then you have to do it again. So then the learning journey, man, of knowing that even after I had the property, that the only way I could make it be what it is, I had to live on the property. So starting with 2 solar panels and 1 battery. Because you know what? We live in, we're not staying, we live in that type that's going to the mountain. To the extent that you start with 2 solar panels and 1 little battery. You've chilled, That time we had about 4 or 5 children already. Because 3 of them were born in the mountain. Right? So realizing that, I had to create that reality for myself first, because that is what I love. I love nature. I grew up in the country. I grew up around herbs with my grandmother. I grew up around the river, So when I went on the property and I saw this palm tree, which was almost like extinct in the country, but I grew up going into the forest, and that palm is a palm that, we call a sacred palm. And I sat down, I held the meditation, burned a chalice at that time, and rain just started to fall. I just bought the property, right? And stayed there, built the cottages, plant trees, so my children's placentas, the afterbirth, is buried there. Trees grew and bear on that already. I could drink coconut from a tree that one of my Princess Newt's, afterbirth is buried under. So she could have a direct relationship, which is something I grew up seeing. So when you admit these things to yourself, then you are able to create the better that we look to create.
And I'm glad you shared that story, because anyone who has grown and healed, the first thing is being truthful with yourself. I want to be clear, not abusing yourself, but being truthful with yourself. A lot of people struggle with that, and it's so liberating when you can analyze stuff. Not just analyze, but make the changes and work towards those,
Well, that's the purpose, man. Remember, it's solution-oriented. You know, so it's always solution oriented, brother. You know, so it's not really a problem, it's just a challenge. You know, so you use the same amount of brain cell it takes to think that you can't do it. It's the same amount it takes to create the solution.
Say that again for those listening. Say it one more time.
Yeah. The same amount of brain cells it takes to think about the problem as a problem is the same amount it takes to create the solution, and sometimes even less. Because when you're thinking of the solution, the thought, remember, everything stacks up, you know. So when you say, well, yeah, man, that window there, you know, the air not coming in properly, you know, because of that thing there. So then you say, oh, yeah, man, probably if I just burst there and shift this and extend that wall on that side there, you know, I could, you know, and then that it stacks up. So everything just stacks up. So just thinking of it, you know, boosts up particular hormones within your physical structure. So your clarity improves. So it's not just that you're thinking of the solution, you know, but thinking of the solution gives you more clarity, boosts up your immune system, makes you feel good. Whereby thinking of the problem, oh boy, that window there, look at it, why can't I even get enough sunshine there? And then, so apart from not fixing the problem, your cortisol increasing and stress hormone, your pressure going up, diabetes, you know, high blood pressure, you're killing yourself. So it is critical just to be in that solution mind state.
All right. You spoke about one journey you had. I want to speak about another journey. We spoke about it earlier, right? This is a very important reason right here. I want to talk about the journey of being happy for others, right? When did you learn the skill of being happy for others?
Happy fathers?
Happy for others.
Happy for others. Oh, when I saw that, I was envious. Because that was one of the discovery of seeing I'm envious. You know, and when I identified the spirit of envy, you know, and jealousy, you know, because it's a real spirit.
Time,
you know, so you're looking at someone else, and every time you see someone in a space, then you feel, well, you know, yeah, man, I should have been, you know, I could have been there too, you know, you know, and I check, but why can't I, you know, that's a real, you know, evil type of mentality, you know, that you see a man, whatever he is excelling in, and in your mind, you just believe that you could be as good as that man, and you deserve what that man's supposed to have. Not realizing, because, you know, not realize, not understanding that it took intense level of livification of time and energy. So the singer that sings good, no matter how, okay, so you can look at someone like Beyonce then, right? Some people might say, well, Beyonce this and she leads people, whatever, you know, whatever. Beyonce has a core principle of hard work. I mean, she's been singing from young, you know, so her success is not just out of the fact that she dance or this or that or that or that. This is the core principle of discipline and hard work and commitment, right? So you could admire that and honor that she stands for that principle and glorify her in that whole level of that core principle, right? So she could even be a goddess in that because of she exemplifies it. She excels in what she's doing, right? So the same with the man that plays cricket. The man is not just batting and living his life. When the man was facing balls and getting hit by his eyes and underneath his ribs, you know, and the hours and the days and the months and the years of commitment the man put to his sports, where were you? Right? So when now you become a successful person and you get associated with success, then you understand what it takes to be successful. You know, so I left my family and went to Cuba to study medicine. So I did 3 years in Cuba, like conventional medical school. I still went to school at the conventional medical school called Spartan after I left Cuba. I still went to another one called American University of Antigua College of Medicine, which is an ordinary, like a conventional medical school. I studied herbs, I studied this, I still study. Right, so I'm not just here because I came yesterday. I've been on YouTube probably from 2005, 6. Before YouTube was YouTube, I was already teaching. From the time I graduated from medical school, that's what I've been doing. My youth has been teaching. That's all you see. Right? Traveling everywhere with my bags and things and my projector and giving lectures. You understand? So for me, I understand my own personal journey. So I could say, yeah, man, I can glory in myself. So when I see a man and he's successful, I understand the commitment. So I glory with him. So I have to consciously come to that point when I see someone with something good or get an award. Because when a man get an award, you think it's you, know. Subconsciously you say, boy, you're supposed to be going and get that Grammy, you know. Boy, it's me, you know. But then you could celebrate with the man because you observe his level of commitment. How long he's been working towards that. How many hours he spent in the studio. Right? So these things, they are critical. That we learn that whole aspect. They call it something about writing your eulogy before you die. Right? Whereby you could, because when a man die, all kind of good thing. Yeah, boy, you know, John was a good, you know, he did good thing, and then they still buy a casket for you for $14,000. $20,000 casket that they could have given you to invest. You know, and spend countless of money buying rum and eating all kind of stuff at your funeral reception that they could have invested in you when you were alive. So all the good words that you could have spoken to the person after the death, you speak it to when they're alive and they could respond. Right? And then you could allow them to live within that positive space. You know? So it's critical. So for me, when I learn that, I hold on to that. So when I see a young man doing something positive, I embrace him. No matter what his life is, that's not my business. I understand the principle of what it takes to be successful. So you respect that and you honor
that. I saw, excuse me. I couldn't find it, right? But I swore I saved it on my phone because Dr. Knife sent me a recent article about marijuana in America. And I wanted to ask you, right? Do you think it's safe to smoke marijuana grown in America?
I could tell you what I do. You know, I burn herb, I grow. Right? That's like a principle that I have. Right? I burn herb, I grow. So if I burn your herb, it must be someone that I highly regard. Because herb is not just a physical plant. You know, the phytochemistry, the components, the terpenes, there's not only cannabinoids in ganja. You have polyphenols, you have terpenes, you have alkaloids, you have all type of different phytochemicals within ganja. And you know, you have all minerals too. So it's not only the THC and the, you know, and the CDB and all them things. That's not what it is. It's a complete plant. It's alive, right? And what you will get when you measure it now, if you put it in a different end, because it's a spiritual plant, when you grow it in a different circumstance, different environment, it gives you a completely different type of meditation.
We're not even talking about the spraying the chemicals on it yet. We're just talking about environment.
Environment. Right? So when I grow my herb with the intention for me to use it. Right? So when I am treating a client in my center and I'm giving them a herbal extract that I might just go and just cut 3-4 buds and get it pounded and squeeze out the juice and get them to drink it. That herb was grown just for that. You know, it was not grown to sell and to go and hustle and to make a money or medical marijuana. No, it's grown for my usage. So if I know I'm going to use that, I'm going to steam it. You think I'm going to spray a chemical on it that can kill me? No. But do you think that I'm going to plant it in an environment where it could absorb? Because remember, you know, the herb is its medium, you know, where it grows in, you know. So what you give it is what it, you know. So I would start from that point of view, that I personally use the herb. I won't even say smoke. I use the ganja that I grow. Right? There is nothing intrinsically wrong with America. North America is a beautiful place. And you still have Central and South America. You know, and there are some beautiful people who live up in these places. Some wonderful souls. There are some rich, fertile soils in these places. Right? So there are people in America that grow good herb, also with good intention. So I won't go and say that don't smoke herb from America. That's a blanketed statement. You know, I would say that the man in Jamaica or St. Lucia or Barbados that plant the herb in the same type of mindset and spray it because it has caterpillar and thing, with a chemical, karate or something, and then go and sell it on the market, what difference is it than the herb going in America? So you're going to leave America, fly down Jamaica to smoke a herb that was sprayed with the same chemical, or even a worse chemical, because the chemical that you could get in Jamaica, you can't get in America because it's banned. You understand? So let us just stick to the principle of it. So it's not the space. You know, America is a beautiful country too. Nice, beautiful springs, yeah, and green spaces and them type of thing that, you know? Yeah, man. So I wouldn't say don't smoke herb grown in America. It's how the herb is grown. Because the herb could grow in the same evil way, right, in a different country. Right? So I'll urge a man, you know, to principally, if he utilizes ganja, try to grow his ganja and have that relationship with ganja. And for those who cannot, you know, grow it themselves because of choice, because if you really want to do it, man, there's nothing you can do, right? Then, I mean, at least be conscious of who you're buying it from. That you're getting something clean, because you are incorporating. I don't smoke spliff and these type of things there. Because if you smoking 5 spliffs per day, you know, if you just say that you have 365, if you just say 360 days, 5, 6, 30, you know, 5 3 is 15 plus 3 is what? 18. Right? That's 18. Right? So you have 1,800. Okay? So if you just say that it's a 360 day, yeah, let's say the other 5 days, you sabbatical from it. You're smoking 5 spliffs a day. That means that you'd be burning 1,800 papers every year, like wrappers, right? So try and take 1,000 wrappers and roll it up and and pull it, right? So the same way, like if you take one aspirin twice a day, and there are 70 aspirins in the bottle, eventually you're gonna finish the bottle. So what's the difference between taking everything one time? Right? So you are exposing your physical structure to the effects of a prolonged period of time. So the consequences will be felt over that time. Right? But you are still consuming it. So then if you check on these things now, then you begin to make wiser choices in what's your relationship with ganja. You know? So plenty different things is just about education and just allowing people to just, you know, the time for them to grow. It's not about just telling a man that he's shown that and you need to provide him with a solution. All right? And remember, it's a continually evolving life. So everyone does be at their space. So I know where I'm coming from. You know, so I used to go in the forest and with my slingshot and hunt birds. You know, so I kill birds and things already. Yeah? You know, and yeah, as a youth. Yeah, man. So, you know, like, I'm okay, right, I'm a priest, Kailashs, and I never kill a bird or I don't step on an ant, and, you know, I'm like, no. Right? So, there was a process where I had to go through my journeys. right? So then I could have been honest within myself. If I say I love fish, you know, it's not I love eating fish, but I love fish. I love to see a fish in the ocean and, you know, love to see a whale or a shark or a dolphin, you know, tuna, and, you know, I love this. I love fish, right? Not to eat fish, but I love fish, right? So it's critical, man, and it's just a journey. So people have to just understand that life's a journey. So everyone, you know, is traveling within their own space, and, you know, is the time-space continuum. So, you know, I could go in the future and leave you right there because you move slow. So if you try to walk, if you try and swim to go to America from Africa, when I reach America, probably you never make it. You might make it, you know, but the amount of time that it take you, I could be telling you the future. You know, I could tell you, see, when you pass there, you see a house there, you know, that burn thing. I say, when you reach there, you say, wow, the priest was right, you know. But because I'm moving faster, I'm able to see things way before you because of my speed. Right? So each of us have our own speed within the space. So the faster you go, the less time you take. Right? So if a man say, man, watch out, man, and you save your life. If a man say, watch out, and you say, watch out, what you say? Watch out for what? You know? Yeah, so that's how it multiplies. So a man could tell you, veteran, let's go over there and do something. You could say, let's go, man. Boop, and you go and you do it in 5 minutes and you get everything fulfilled. And say, let's go and do something, man. And you say, what are we going to do? Oh, you're going to get some pineapples. Okay, all right, let's go, man. Then another man say, what are you going to do? I'm going to get pineapples, man. Pineapples for what? Where you get pineapple? What kind of pineapple? You know, so you spend the 5 minutes that you'd have gone and do your thing and come forward, you spend it in talking. Right? That is how you know that you have to know who you invest your time with. Because nothing is hidden. So you don't have to read a man and go in a car to read a man. You know, just check the person's life, what they do, what they say, and then these are just the physical manifestations of what stems from the mind and the heart. So you don't have to read somebody. I have to not to read people. So I won't even look at you too much because I don't want to examine you critically, scientifically, because it's science. It's not like the body, the goody could hide anything. It's not like you could hide. All right? Because if you study science, the higher science and the lower science and the side and all the sciences, it is very easy to know what people think and what they do and how they live.
On the bus, I heard you with a reasoning, right? I wanted you to touch on it in regards to when people argue about religion, they shouldn't necessarily argue about religion, but they should argue about theology. Can you speak more on that, please?
Well, as His Imperial Majesty say, religion really supposed to be the pathway towards attaining what you call spirituality. But in the contemporary sense, you know, theology is basically the science of the study of religion in quotation mark or spirituality. So meaning that it is based upon the foundations of logics. That's why it's called theology, like biology, physiology, you know, and all the astrology is still different than astronomy because these are scientific realms. So arguing or critiquing religion is more something that will create more division. You know, yet you could have a scientific discussion, a logical discussion of what's true and what's not. Like if God will send food from the sky, things that we've never seen happen, and a man will tell you, well, yeah, I'll die and I'll go to heaven. And, you know, so logically, the study of theology, you know, just keeps us grounded in the truth and the reality rather than just trying to attain to things that has never been attained before.
Do you think a lot of time is spent on arguing about religion and biblical scriptures because of ego? Because I think better time can be spent in regards to ways to move towards your higher self or just improve yourself as a person.
Well, I mean, I don't argue. Like for me, I find that my spiritual path is private. Right. So you wouldn't hear me speaking on any social media network about I'm a Rastafari and, you know. So whatever your spiritual path is, your life's supposed to exude that, right? So the man that's a Catholic, if he's a real Catholic and he does his rosaries and Hail Mary, Mother of God, pray for, that's good. At least he sees the divinity in the essence of woman, that he could pray to a woman, right? He could do his alms, he could do his charity, he could just try to live by the precepts of Christ. That's awesome, right? So the man that's an Adventist, the man that's a Muslim, the man that is a Rastafari, as long as it is that your fundamental goal is to live by that precept of balance and love and peace and harmony and a high level of morality and moral integrity, it's good. So I'm not a man that sees heaven whereby it's only Rasta man that's going to be there, or it's only Adventist that's going to be there. I see that whatever your path is, as long as you are true to it and you are honest and you critically examine self, it will lead you to the space of spirituality or spiritual awakening. And in that space, there is no division. There is no Adventist or Rasta or Muslim or Hindu or none of these things. You are just all good people on a path towards the enlightenment of humanity.
Do you cite the Bible as something that should be taken literally or something that should be studied for its metaphysical lessons?
Well, the Bible is like any other book. There's no book that you take literal. And within every book, you still have what you call, allegories, things that are written in a sense. If a man tell you, what goes up must come down, it's an allegory. So it is something that you could learn from. If you climb up, then, and they say, praises go up, blessings come down, a double bridge. So all these things there, it's not like as if you won't burn a bridge. If you're in war and then an enemy is crossing the bridge and you have to prevent them from advancing, you can burn that bridge, But you understand the allegory of it, meaning that the things that you do or the people that helped you to get from place to place, you don't actually destroy these relationships. That's allegoric, right? So the Bible can be taken literally in some essence. Say, love your neighbor as yourself. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the wicked. Not sitteth in the seat of the scornful. Right? So that's literal. You're blessed if you don't walk with wicked people, if you don't sit among scornful people, and your delight is in the Lord and His, and all good things and all upright things. That's logic. So that same Bible will tell you people if broad nose they are ugly or tell you about slaves and all these different aspects of things, and these things, and you could put it on the side. So the Bible is, yes, literal, but yet still you take everything and you see yourself in it. So if it is talking about grandeur and excellence and opulence and regal, and royalty, you could put yourself in that sense to elevate your own self. And the same way, right, if it is that you see of wickedness and ugly and disdain, you could take yourself away from that and say, well, that's not me. So I think that it can be both taken literally and allegorically.
Can you provide some other lessons that you find from allegory in the Bible for the viewers?
Well, from the beginning, the Bible says, behold, I've given you every herb bearing seed and every fruit of a tree yielding seed to you shall be for meat. The biblical diet. So it says every herb bearing seed, and every fruit of a tree yielding seed to you it shall be for meat. That's some good direction. So if you're asking yourself, what am I supposed to be eating? Herbs bearing seeds, fruit yielding seeds. So not even like some vegetables with no seeds and all those different aspects. You understand? So these are very great examples. Also, the book of Ezekiel also says, when the leaf of the tree shall be for medicine. Right? So then it takes you to the fact that your the botanics, the plant kingdom, is what you're supposed to look for your healing. So all these things are very logical, right? Things that you could actually just hold on to. That's why I say it's theology. It's very logical. Whoa, wow, what am I supposed to eat? So people then believe, well, meat is flesh. When they say, your meat, what's your meat? Then for some reason you think it's chicken, pork, or beef. Then when Genesis chapter 1 verse 29 says, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed and every fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. Right? So these things allow you to put your life into perspective. And then again it says, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Right? So you see, well, in the beginning man was living 900 years, 800 years, and they say, oh, this man lived so many hundreds of years. And then as you look through the ages with the Bible, from Genesis chapter 1 verse 29, where man was only eating herbs bearing seeds, and fruits of a tree yielding seed, to when people just bless and eat. Oh, just bless and eat, man. Just bless and eat. It's okay, man. Just as long as you bless and eat it, it's good. Then they eat pork and opossums and rats and cockroach and lizard. And then you could see, well, a man's life has been reduced to 3 scores and 10, 60, 70. Right? So it is critical that we just learn these types of lessons, of Proverbs chapter 31, a virtuous woman. So if a woman is looking to see what it means to be a good woman, she could find insight in that. Right? And then they still tell you, well, it's better for a man to be in the company of a bear that have actually lost its pup. I don't know how they call the baby bear, right? Than to be a cub, than to be around a cantankerous woman. So when you take the cub of a bear, that's the bear will rip you up. So better you in the presence of a bear that's so mad and angry and upset and ferocious than to be in the company of certain types of women. So there are some tremendous lessons a man could learn. And some of them I say are literal and some of them are allegoric, but you must always look for the benefit in it, the goodness that is within it.
Is it realistic for one to be physically healthy while being mentally and spiritually unhealthy?
It is impossible to be physically healthy and you're mentally unhealthy, because as we have spoken before on the spirits or the 7 levels of manifestation of the man. So the man is not just his physical self. Your physical attributes, that's just one example of who you are. So the fact that a man might have prostate cancer, or somebody might have diabetes or high blood pressure, that is a symptom. So you could take a blood pressure cuff and you could measure it. Systolic pressure is 160, diastolic pressure is 100. So you say, oh, he's hypertensive. Or your blood sugar levels is 223, right? So he's diabetic, right? But what emotional state is that person in that can cause the endocrine system to react in a manner that could give him a metabolic condition like diabetes, or give them prostate cancer, or give them fibroids, or give them breast cancer or prostate cancer. So we look at the man in every essence, in his 7 level of manifestation. His physical self, right? His emotional self, happy, sad, angry, regret, all these things you cannot feel, you cannot weigh. Then look at his effort, his energy. That is how, when you look at the man, the man have a good energy, man, a good man there, and how you feel, and all these things are scientifically measurable things, yet still you cannot touch it. But if you come out of your chair and I could still measure your heat wave or your heat signature, right? I could use some ultraviolet frequency to measure it. Then you have your soul, a good soul, a bad soul, right? So all that is just one manifestation of that physical being. Then you have his spirit, his connection into the great I am. Then you still have his astral self, as above, as below. So then you still have his God self, his creative self. So when you look into healing, you understand the spirit of interconnectedness. So there is no way that you as a man cannot be well, and then your household is well, and then your village is well, and then your community, your town, your country is well. So that level of interconnectedness, where we understand that your level of wellness, when I have to get you well, right? If you're in a bad mood, right, and something went horrible, or you have a toothache, and your wife come and touch you and say, oh, Honorable, how you doing? And come and tickle you. How would you respond? Oh, man, if you say, man, even your children come and try and hug you, daddy, 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 daddy. Just because of your emotional state, how you respond to them won't be the best. Just because of how you feel. So you are connected to not just your own 7 levels of manifestation. And remember, there is also an inverted 7 other levels that give you 14 levels of manifestation. You know that, right? Because among the realms of gods, there are other gods. Right? And you could actually extend into that. Right? So then when you understand that, then you understand, well, look, a man can't be healthy, right? And then he's emotionally distressed. Then you understand that his emotional self, so if you upset, then your cerebrum, which is your brain, would actually transduce that feeling, capture that feeling of being upset or being angry, bring it into your frontal cortex, right, or your limbic system, and allow you then to transform it into your endocrine system, pituitary gland, make you produce some very specific hormones that'll make you feel upset or make you feel happy or laugh, ha ha ha, ha or cry, right? So it is critical that you understand that your emotional self has a very, 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 very tangible influence upon how you feel physically, even if it's immeasurable in the scientific terms.
2 questions I have from that. One is, how does one better manage their emotions? Some people's emotions seem to fluctuate very extreme. How does one find a balance out their emotions?
Knowledge. You balance your emotional self by just understanding. I have had patients with breast cancer. Women come with breast cancer, and the breast of the woman, her paps, literally represents that. Because remember, a woman carries a child for 9 months. After that 9 months, or 42 or 44 or 45 strongs, you know, the baby actually sucks upon her bosom. The breast represents that source of nourishment, right? That source of life that child feeds upon for a year, 2 years, 6 months, whatever length of time. And it also represents the woman's sexuality. Oh, she has nice, beautiful breasts. So when a woman's bosom begins to rot and stink and putrefy, breast cancer brings the woman from that place of beauty, right? And everyone watching and see her cleavage to that point where you have to, oh my, and you know, and nurses have to wear masks and it has to be cut off and thrown in a rubbish bin. This is just representative of this woman's creative, emotional, ethereal, soul, spirit, astral, and God self. So the same way that her bosom, her source that actually feeds everything that pertains to her, is rotting off. It's as a consequence of all the filth that she's holding up into her mentals, into her thought pattern, how she's thinking. It could be because she was in a relationship and then her husband treated her bad, and she just cannot let it go. It could mean that people at work, her boss, some type of thing, she was raped, she was abused, she was something, she just can't let it go. So you see people come with these healing issues, with these wellness issues, and they're sick, they're not well, but they refuse to forgive and let go. And it's not about forgiving somebody else, it's about forgiving themselves. Knowing that they are able to forgive themselves to the extent that they are saying that, well, I've been a great husband or a great wife. Priest, you know, I gave this man, I'm 25 years of my life, and I feel like I wasted my life. Then that's depression. Priest, I was a wonderful wife. I gave him 25 years. I cooked his food. I took care of our children. I did a wonderful job. I am, the epitome, what we refer to as a virtuous woman. I am that, and I'm proud to have been that, priest. That's completely different. What is circulating in the bloodstream is something that can kill her or that can give her life. So it is critical that into helping to balance your emotional self, that you understand how it affects you. It can cost you your life. So one thing I'll always tell them, is it worth your life? Right? So someone raped you. Whether their raping of you is right or wrong, it's done. 15 years down the line, you're thinking of that rape and you're feeling horrible. You might even hang yourself and commit suicide. So after this person have taken away your integrity as a woman, they take your life, right? And then they could take your soul, meaning that your constant state of anger and bereavement and regret and always cursing and not being able to love and trust, you have allowed that person to take that when that has already been done. So it's not that you have to forgive him. You have to forgive yourself and say, well, wow, priest, you know that I was raped and I survived. You know how many women died? Give thanks. Now, I could teach my daughters better. Now I can teach younger women how to actually conduct themselves. And you could use your experience as something to uplift you than to give that person that power on you. I could cost you your life. I could cost you your soul, your spirit, your creative center. Because a lot of women who've been abused, they just cannot have children. Because they say, well, I don't want to bring no child into this wicked world. right? And then we tell them then, what's the polarity? The fact that you have experienced the worst of things, it puts you in a better position to be a mother because you have that experience that could divert the child, the path of your child from the trajectory of sadness and raping. So you could see a rapist, as he appears, you could see, oh, this man there is a rapist, you know. Look at how he looks. He looks just like John when he came to me. Come, princess, don't go around this man, you know. So it allows you to actually set the proper boundaries to protect your prosperity, right? So to keep that emotional balance, you always ask yourself, is it worth my life? Because remember, 70% of disease and sickness and death comes from emotional illness, right? And then it is just one of your 7 levels of manifestation. So it can kill you, just like a bullet.
Can you go over the 7 levels of manifestation real quick?
The 7 levels of manifestation means that level number 1, you are a physical being. You have a heart that makes up part of your circulatory system. You have a urinary system. You have eyes. You have teeth. You know, I can feel your pulse. I could weigh you. How much? You are 150 pounds, 170 pounds. You are 80 kilos. That's physical and tangible. So when you go to the doctor, they could see that your skin is pale. So they could see that your eyes are yellow. It's jaundiced. So they could see these physical symptoms and they could prescribe for it. The same way then, you have your emotional self. The emotions, they are not as tangible as your physical self. So it's not like you could say, man, look a slice of happiness. Look a slice of anger. Look a slice of grief. Look a slice of reproach. Right? They are intangible. You cannot wait. But it's all part of you. You could experience happiness. So your physical self can experience an emotional sensation because you have part of your endocrine system, the physical anatomy, your brain has that capacity to transform an intangible feeling of happiness, of fat. Oh, I remember when my mother used to hug me and kiss me, you know, and you smile. So you'll see a man just sit down and just smile. And you say, what's with you, my man? Just a fat, you know, made him smile. Was it a fat that he ate or he drank? No. But because that fat was a loving thought, it made his physical structure produce serotonin and make him physically experience happiness. So the same way, if it is that it was a bad thought, it could make him produce cortisol or adrenaline, and then you could see him cry, and you could see the physical tears. You could have seen or touched that sadness, but you could see the tears. You could hear the crying because his endocrine system has transformed an intangible and emotional feeling into a physically tangible feeling. All right, so that's the emotional self. Right, how you protect yourself with your thought pattern, how happy, how sad you are, which is intangible, but it's still part of you. So if someone comes with cancer, right, you have to deal with their emotions to heal them. Right? Then you have your effort, the ephrill, the energy, your vibrational frequency. That means that I'm sure you've heard of the phantom theory, whereby a diabetic person could have a diabetic ulcer and they need to get an amputation, they cut off their leg, but their toe still itch. And even if the toe has been cut off, they still feel the toe is itching and trying to, you know, they might even feel that the leg is still and get up and fall. Right? So it's the same way that you might have something in your pocket, and even if it's not in your pocket, you still feel it's in your pocket because it's been there for so long. So the energy vibration, the energy frequency of it is still there. Okay, so then they say, well, I just like that man, that vibe, you know, and have a good energy, you know, right? And then the energy of yourself and all these things there will determine your emotional state, you know. So if it is that you are wrong as somebody with bad energy, always complaining, boy, you know, priest, you know, boy, yesterday I go down, you know that man, you know, man, how are you going to feel? Emotionally, if you're just going to be absorbing all the complaints and the complaints and the complaints and the whining, it's going to affect their vibration, going to affect your emotion, that's going to affect your endocrine system, that's going to make you produce hormones that'll get you sick.
Drain you out, fire.
Drain you out. All right? So then you have your soul, which basically is your unique conscious identity, which is not a vibration, but it is a level below your spirit. It's not connected to source like your spirit connected to source. It's just your own consciousness of goodness, morality, right, wrong, right? So that is nurtured through spiritual inclination, through meditation, through whatever spiritual path that you are on. If you are Muslim, if you are Rastafari, if you say, blessed love my Lord, give thanks, honorable, a good day, greetings, my brother, salam alaikum, inshallah, whatever, all these different terms, they help you to keep your soul on that level of frequency whereby all you exude is proper morals and principles of how you conduct yourself. And then there are certain things that's inconsciable. You could never do them things there just because of the type of soul that you put. That's a good soul, It's a wonderful soul, right? Oh, this man, they have a wonderful soul. He takes care of his children. He takes care of his family. That man, they're soulless, man. I see that man that just slap up a 5-year-old baby and kick up his wife in the street. All right? So then that in its every essence can affect the energy frequency that you are wrong. Because if you're wrong, an evil man, show me your company and I'll tell you who you are. Right? So birds of a feather flock together. Right? So at the end of the day, it is important to nourish your soul by surrounding yourself with high levels of morality and things of high level of integrity. Right? And just being empathetic, just caring enough about other people. Then you have your spiritual self, which is that breath, that connection to the ever living. So it's not like as if your spirit could just disappear and it's gone. Spirit, that's what they call as immortal, from everlasting to everlasting to everlasting. So your spiritual self is basically your connection, that branch that connects you to the navel string of creation, where you attach to the Almighty, to the Creator, right? So everyone has a spirit, right? It could either be a good spirit or it could be an evil spirit, right? So a flesh cannot manifest without spirit, right? Because you are a living spirit, not because you say, oh, the Holy Spirit of God, and you are spirit, you are a living spirit. So your spirit is just one aspect of your manifestation of what you are, right? So this is not something you could just cut off and you are this unique person and you're not connected to anything else. You say no man is an island, but an island is still not an island. The island is surrounded by a body of water, but then the island is still attached to earth, to the crust of the earth. You understand what I'm telling you? So it's still not like, of course you could be an island. You could be surrounded by things, but you're still connected to source, which is your spirit, right? Which has to be nourished, by doing higher levels of upliftment deeds.
And for those unaware, before you continue, please just give some examples of nourishing your spirit.
What's that?
For those unaware, please give some examples about nourishing your spirit.
Nourishing your spirit, charity, is just lack of expectation, right? You give without expecting nothing in return, right? So when you give someone something, it's coming out of that source of abundance of what you feel deep within you, right? Just being empathetic, just being considerate of what another person might be going through. You have a higher spirit. You're holy, right? Your words that you speak, you never use the F word. You not be swearing. You're swearing. When you curse, who you cursing? When you curse and use a curse word, the first vessel you destroy is your own vessel. It's 20-something years I've never used the F word, I don't use that. I'm going to curse, and I don't use them things there. Right? Why? Because where I am spiritually, I'm very mindful of what it do to me. Not because of you holier than anybody else, but because of self-love. I know if I use that curse word, who's going to vibrate through first? And since you use 75% water, and water stores and transfer and carries energy, you know that every word that you speak. So if you want to nourish your spirit, do good deeds, man. Be charitable. Give without expecting anything in return. Be empathetic. Care for others. Feel how people would be able to feel. Avoid getting angry. Avoid people pushing your button. Just maintain that high frequency. Nourish yourself to the extent that the words that come out of your mouth are holy, are uplifting words. So they say, well, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth actually speak. That's your spirit, the breath, right? So when you speak, it's a manifestation of your spirit. So if you want to nourish your spirit, just speak wonderful things. Sing them again to me, wonderful words of life. Words of life and beauty. Teach me faith and duty. Beautiful words, wonderful words of life. If someone is in a critical accident and they're about to die, first thing they teach you, like in medical school, you get to this accident scene and this person has head trauma and the chest trauma and they're bleeding and thing, and then they're there and you have them. How you keep them alive? Yeah, man. Yeah, John, man. What you say, man? Everything blessed, man. Help is coming. Yeah, man. Get up, man. Wake up. Don't fall asleep. If he falls asleep, he's dead. Right? So the fact that you are speaking to him, your words have the capacity to keep them alive. So never underestimate the power of words. Right? So that's how your words is basically an extension of the spirit that is within you.
All right, continue the stages now.
Yeah. So then you have your astral self. So you are your star. So you are a 5-pointed figure. You have 2 arms, 1 head, 2 legs. Right? So you 5-pointed star. You're a star. And a star literally because the light that you have supposed to illuminate. You're supposed to actually shine light upon people's life. You're supposed to direct people's path. So as a man, as a star, the same way the sun is that big star, right? When the sun shines, everybody see. The same way the star have a trajectory that can be mapped over thousands of years, has a high level of commitment and discipline. The sun just rises every morning at a particular time and sets at that particular time, no matter what. Whether it rains, whether it snows, whatever happens, right? The sun will remain the sun from now until whatever happens, right? So the same way as a star, you're supposed to have that high level of discipline, commitment, consistency. That is what that could make you actually shine. And literally, when we were born, astrologically, we were born under a very specific constellation of stars that shine a very specific light on us at that exact precise moment that we were born. I'm not talking about Libra, the horrible Scorpio. I'm talking about the ancient sciences, whereby our ancient people tell us that we came out of Sirius B. So how our ancestors were able to map the path of Sirius B, an invisible star, the dog star, the twin star to Sirius A, that they only saw just about 15 years ago or so, right? Using powerful telescopes. But our ancestors, the Dogon people, were able to map the whole pathway of Sirius B, an invisible star. Dog star, right? That if it is the brightest star in the heaven is in the color of the dog star, the Sirius. That's right after Orion, right? So then when you understand that, we have that intricate connection as above, so below. So you are a star. That's why I'm a Rastafari, Rastafari. So then you have your God self, which is your creative self, your creational self. You could create. You are God. So when a man say, boy, I pray to God every day and I love God. And there is no way that you could love God if you don't love yourself. Impossible. Anyone that is religious and they don't speak to their mother and their father and they tell me they love God, I could never marry a woman that doesn't speak to her mother and father. Impossible. Your mother and your father represents the physical manifestation of the unseen God. Who created you? Your mother and your mommy and daddy created you. So how then you don't call mommy, you don't speak to daddy, right? You don't help them out in the situation, but yet still you could see them, you could feel them. You know you came out of your mother's womb. You don't show her any love. But the God you never see, he never talk to you, you never touch him, he never give you $1, he never sent you university. You love God, and then you can even love your mommy and your daddy. Right? So it is critical that we understand that ye are all gods and the children of the Most High. That you are God. You have a creative self. You could create life Yeah, I mean, I remember, you know, that the sperm contains 23 chromosomes and the ovum of the woman contains 23 chromosomes. And then, upon ejaculation, a man releases over 300 million sperms, right? So, during sexual intercourse, what happens is that through the movement of the in and out of the penis, that level of stimulation actually changes the biochemical nature of the woman's blood. All right? So, as the man is going in and out, and there is that stimulation of the glands of the penis, and his testosterone and nitric oxide, the levels actually increase, and his heart rate increases up to 144 beats a minute, and then he ejaculates. Or yeah, that orgasmic bliss, I call it the organism. It is critical that the woman reaches that point within that same level of frequency. So when he releases that 300 million sperm, the vaginal canal is very acidic. 100 million of them die there, you know. As he ejaculates there, 100 million die within just the vaginal canal. Then you have the orifice of the cervix. It's tiny. Some of them will be bouncing. They'll never make it through the hole. So they make it into the uterus. That's more alkaline, so the sperm could survive there. Yet still you have different projections coming out of the womb of the woman that pushes them down. Right? So the sperm is swimming against a current. Right? That is in every essence trying to prevent it from getting into that ovum. Yet still, at the same time, the ovum of the woman is producing this beautiful chemical that's directing the sperm. Then for the other probably 50 million or so that makes it to the top of where you have the left and the right the fallopian tube, and you have left and right, you have two ovaries. The egg is released in only one of them. So let's say 50% go on a side, which is the wrong direction. 50% go on the other side, which is the right direction. Right? So another 25 million gone because they go in the wrong direction. Then the other 25 million, it takes one sperm. After that one sperm enters into that egg, then you have the completion of the final phase of meiosis, that they call meiosis, whereby the ovum, the egg of the woman, completes that division. Boom, 23 chromosomes coming from the man, 23 from the woman, and then you have a layer comes right over the corona pellucida, which is that layer over the ovum of the egg that prevents no other sperm from entering into that egg. So out of 300 million sperms, you the one. So as long as you've been created, as long as you're born, what are you? You're a champion. You have succeeded over countless difficulties just before, even from before you come out of the womb of the woman. You understand that? Then it helps us to appreciate love, what a woman then has to go through for that 9 months, 42, 43, 44 strongs of carrying that child, feeding that child, nurturing that child. And the man too, the man's thoughts, the man's deeds, the man's actions also affects the child. Not because he's not carrying the child, because that's a God self, you know, because you are creating a life, you know. Right? And then after that woman pushes out the child into the world, she still has to allow the child to suck up on her bosom, you know, and then her breast gets long and flabby, you know, but it all demonstrates that a firm development of the muscular tissue of the breast of the woman. It's beautiful as a man is supposed to see well, not because the breast of your woman after childbirth looks away that you as a man, you want to look at the breast of a 14 or 15 or 18-year-old woman. There's beauty in that. There's a beauty in motherhood, right? A beauty in stretch marks, right? So it helps you to value what the human has to go through to actually push a life into creation. And then you going to tell me that you don't speak to your mother? Or you don't check for your mother? Understanding the investment that she has made in your life? Right? So just understanding our God self, that we are creators, help us to determine how our star is, that we are a microcosm in a macrocosm. Help us to speak properly to people. If I see myself as a God, I won't curse you. Did I curse you? No, I'm a God. Right? So you see someone say, yeah, what's up, God? And so people say, don't call the name of God in vain. Right? That's when you say, yes, God, and I'm a God. And then you cursing, you doing all manners of things, not understanding critically that your God nature is that pure and divine nature. So good man in flesh is God in flesh, and evil man in flesh is Satan in flesh. So that's the polarity. So you have your physical self, you have your emotional self, you have your ether, your ethereal self, your vibrational frequency, you have your soul, right? You have your spirit, then you have your astral self, and then you have your God self. So when someone is not well as a healer, we focus on all these levels to get them to their divine self, from center to circumference, from what that is on the inside to bring it forward on the outside.
Rastafari has a magnetic frequency that draws people in. They may not necessarily fully take up the tribe, but they're definitely influenced by the liberty, right? What is it about Rastafari on a metaphysical level that's so magnetic and draws so many people to it?
Tribulation. Rastafari is the rejected one, the black sheep. When at school, I was like a genius. I topped my class. And at the age of about 19, I began growing my locks. My mother said, Priest, not priest, K, if I know that you'd have put locks, I'd never born you. You understand that, right? Yeah. That was the last time I cried. Like tears come out of my eyes. That's when I'm 40, I'm on my 47th cycle now. I shed tears. I said, but why? I want to live a good life. I want to eat healthy. I want to speak upful. I want to do what? Why would she say that? Then now, when the creator himself came and I understood that the reason why my mother would say, well, if she knew I would have become Rasta, she wouldn't have created me, was not because of hate, was because of tribulation that the Rastafari would have to go through. The fact that I put this on my head, it will be difficult. Her son might be killed by police. Her son will always be arrested. Her son will be victimized. Her son would be, growing marijuana. Her son will be scorned in society. So it wasn't just that my mother said this just because of hate or because of that, was because I am part of her endometrial lining. She understands that the pain that she would have to go through as a mother herself. So it was out of love, out of the pain that she never wanted to go through. And to understand that now, and not to hate them, because there are people who hate their mother because, they hate their mother for the rest of, but please, boy, I don't speak my mother at all, because what? She said she will get, nah, but I mean, right? And I tell them, my Lord, if all your mother did was to push you out and put you on a step, that's good enough for you to love your mother and take care of her for the rest of your life, because she gave you life already. Any other thing that she does is a bonus, right? So through the tribulation that Rastafari has gone through, and through all the tribulation, what they say? Love, 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 Love. Right? You know, blessed love, my Lord. Give thanks, beloved. Give thanks for the love, you know? So then, when you see someone who's gone through great tribulation, and yet still, what they do, they still, you know, calm and happy and, you know, full joy in life and everything. That's something that's remarkable. So the whole thing about how you say Rastafari is the magnet, is that the man that's willing to be separate, the man that's willing to be a Daniel. He said, dare to be a Daniel, dare to stand alone, dare to have a purpose strong, dare to make it known. Many giants, big and strong, marching through the land. Headlong the earth they fall when met by Daniel. You understand? Because
Hold on, Fire. Where you get those lyrics from?
it's a chorus, you know.
Yeah.
That Rastafari sing. Dare to be a Daniel, dare to stand alone. Dare to have a purpose, and you dare to make it known. Many giants, big and strong, marching through the land. Headlong the earth they fall when met by Daniel band. So the man that holds a principle. So if you don't drink alcohol and you go around all the big rappers and everybody is drinking the most expensive type of alcohol, you don't even drink their water. You walk with your own water, you just fast it through. And you're there, you know? So Daniel represents that principle of being in the midst of abundance and staying true to who you are. Don't be a sellout. And staying to it and also making it known. Don't be a pussy. Don't be a punk. Like you've seen wrong and you've seen evil and then you... Right? So they say, well, the man that tried to save his life shall lose it. So they say, dare to stand alone, dare to know the truth, and dare to make it known. So you make that truth known. So the Rastafari is the man who speak out against inequality and injustice. Right? And he never care what happened. You understand? So that level of bravery, that's why they call him the lion. Right? And yes, he is the humblest, most loving, you know, with his children, with his family, you know, calls his woman empress, calls his woman goddess, calls his woman queen, you know. Who started to say give thanks? Who says that? Give thanks. Who said that? Rastafari. Who said blessed love my Lord? Who said that? Rastafari. Who said what? Yes, beloved. You know, love, 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 love. Give thanks. Rastafari. Who said about eating plant-based? Rastafari. The whole world around it now. He was criticized for it. They say, well, boy, that man that's staying far from kitchen, you know. Look at that man sick. But he eat some meat, you know. Right? Now everyone treading the path of plant-based livity. Oh, but I'm alkaline. And then they forget about ital. When the standard of the Rasta man is clay pot, wood fire, right? Plant your food. You understand? So that's the Rasta man tradition. Who talk about ecologically sustainable living? Rastafari. Who talk about carbon dioxide emission? Rastafari. Who talk about ganja? Who spoke about ganja, about the healing of the nation? Right? Who was arrested for it? Who were persecuted for it? Who was shot for it? I saw the Rastaman were in St. Lucia. Rastafari was shot on the ganja field and sent at the back of the vehicle and just cut the ganja field and throw herb over it. And when they reached in the village, when they threw down the ganja, just throw down the Rastaman on the ground like an animal, you know. In 1983, as recent as that in Dominica, you had a Dread Act. Shoot on sight. Where Rastaman and their family, their father, the mother, the children were shot in the bush and left there to rot. Where families used to hold their Rastaman and cut off their locks with cutlass and beat them. Now dreadlocks is, you could do it. Oh, I'm a loctician. Oh, I'm a loctician. You know? They're calling me twist the locks and, you know, everybody wearing locks. And then, oh, well, I'm wearing locks now, you know? So by right, everybody that have locks supposed to be paying homage to the Rastaman. Every spliff somebody put in their mouth, they're supposed to be giving something to the Rastaman. Right? Because Rastafari didn't only stand for it, they suffered for it. So you say, what's the magnet in Rastafari? The man who've gone through travail and persecution, and he still stands with dignity. He still stands with valor and still regal, and still smells sweet, and still, love people, So that is the core and fundamental principles. So I, as Rastafari, that is something I always knew I wanted to be, a Rastafari. From time I can remember knowing myself. I say I want to be a doctor and I want to be a Rastaman. But as I told you, I said I want to be a Rastaman when I have everything, because Rastafari is persecuted. But after I go through certain things in my life, I just grew my locks early. So by intelligent man like you join Rasta? Just cut your blood, just trim the beard, man, you look better. Huh? When I used to wear robe, brethren, people used to joke me on the streets, What happened, man? You're feeling hot, man? You're feeling hot, man? What happened? You're feeling hot? What happened? You're dressed? Right? I go through all them things there. I remember I studied medicine in Cuba as a Rasta man. Right? So when I went into Cuba 2001, with my turban on my head, from there, persecution. You take vaccine, everything is pox. So I couldn't eat anything at all, because everything is puerco, grasa de cerdo. So from the biscuit for everything is puerco, arroz con puerco. It's pork, everything is pork, pig fat, everything is pork. So you gotta go and eat there, you gotta go and eat there. Right? And then in my third year, they say, well, I left Cuba because of the level of certain things I saw over there. Right? And they say, well, you must take off your turban. So I say, well, why should I take off my turban? Because nobody goes through medical school in Cuba if they don't get them to trim. So they have their process of, they'll target you to get you trim. And I was in one of the top universities in Cuba. And they tell me, well, I have to take off my turban. And tell them my mother never see my hair, my mother never see my locks, I'm not one of them Rasta man who was just flash out their dread, My mother never see my locks. You understand what I'm telling you? Up to like today. Right? So I tell them, when the Pope comes down here, you just tell him to take off his cap. They say, no. I say, well, why did the Cubans fight the revolution? ¿Por qué? Because their rights as a people were being violated by the Spanish. So they could have put their head on the block and chop it, and they would not give up their rights. I would do the same. So I left them places there, not because of anything, not because they let me go. I was excelling. I was topping. I left that because I say, why should I get an education from someone who wants me to deny my personality? I just left that. And when the Bible tells you, well, all the spiritual books that say, seek ye first the kingdom of God and everything else shall come in line, I left like on Monday. I learned in St. Lucia the Wednesday or so. By Thursday, I got another scholarship. So for me, Rastafari is that level of foundation to understand, well, you stand up for something and you stand up for it. And, and I always used to tell my mother that I'm going to be richer than all my contemporaries. I'm going to achieve things that none of them that went to medical school with me would never achieve as Rastafari. You understand? So I believe that, and when I say believe, they say Rasta don't believe, Rasta no, but I believe it. I believe it. You know what it means? Because I am living it. Believe, I'm living it. That's the core principle of what Rastafari is. So I'm very critical when it comes to I don't bow. I don't do them things there. See, I have my robe and thing and them type of things there. That's something I've been doing when people used to laugh at me.
I want to talk about the importance of timing and patience. That's the last thing I want to reason about.
What's that?
Timing and patience.
Time and patience?
Timing, yeah, the timing of things. Like the
Time.
timing
And patience?
and patience.
Well, timing and patience, I mean, definitely, time is relative to how fast you move. So if I tell you, let's go over there and do that, if you go with me right away, we'll get it done in a minute. If you say, what is over there? That minute, I'll spend it to explain to you. And it'll take us 5 minutes to do it. If you say, if then another person asks, but why me you want to go and not somebody else? Then it is 15, 20 minutes. So the timing is based upon your speed, right? And the people say in the right time. It's always the right time. It's all about how committed are you, you know? And they say, well, good things come to those who wait, but not those that wait for too long, right? Being patient is basically being patient with self, right? Because remember, in medicine, they call the patient, you know. Why you think so? Because they always have to wait for the doctor. So they'll go there and wait for the doctor for the whole day, and then the doctor never come, and they're still patient. That's good? That's not good. But they call them patients anyway, right? So some things you're not supposed to be patient with. You have to be a savage. You know, you have to get it and get it done now. So the reasons why many things perpetuate is because of that laissez-faire, laid-back attitude, right? So, I mean, the only patience is patience with self. Allowing yourself time to grow, you know, and the things that are logical, like you plant a tree, you know, it takes 3 to 4 years, you're patient. You say, I can't wait for that tree to grow, but I can wait because I know the process, right? But to say, well, you have to be patient and tolerate stuff. And you see, when somebody likes something, you don't have to tell them to do it twice. Just like in medical school, they have a way of just eliminating the weaklings. So when you go, you might have biochemistry the first semester. Tough subject. So you see, well, a lot of people just drop out. Oh, wait, that's too hard. Why do you think they do it? Deliberate, just to clear out the path. So at the end of the day, brethren, you know, time is just relative on how fast you move. You know, how much time you take to rest. I go to rest early because I get up 3 o'clock every morning. Right? So when I get up at 3 o'clock every morning and you're still resting and you get up at 6, I have 3 hours ahead of you already, you know. So what I choose to do with my 3 hours, and remember, you know, I go into the rest at 9, 10, you know. So I see 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. I still have 5 hours of rest, 6 hours of rest. If I get 5 hours of rest, I good. Then a man who got 9, 10 hours of rest, that means that you sleeping the majority of your life away. When if you rise up early, you could add another 2 hours to your life work because you're supposed to understand your purpose. That you come here in a limited amount of time to do a certain amount of work. So you're going to sleep that out? Or you're going to waste it among people on the roadside arguing? When you have a limited amount of time to fulfill a particular type of work? So when you are able to value time, understanding that it's finite, yet still infinite, because you could have your place in time and make you immortal, then you begin to value time better. You know, where you spend your time, who you spend your time with, who you speak to, who you don't speak to, where you go, where you don't go, what you do, what you don't do. So these things are critical. So then things you can't be patient with it, brother. You have to be impatient with it, or else it will not change.